What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Out of the Basement. I'm Nate, joined with Justin.
What's up, guys?
And today we are going to be discussing the Season 2 finale of The Mandalorian. This episode is called The Rescue, which, of course, it's exactly what it sounds like. They gotta rescue Grogu. We know what's going on. By now, you guys have most likely seen the episode, and of course, this is an absolutely spoiler-filled discussion. So if for some reason you haven't seen the finale, go watch it, come back, and then enjoy the rest of this review. But holy crap, Justin, what a way to go out. This episode is a banger from beginning all the way to the post-credit scene.
Yes.
Absolute banger. So it starts out, we'll just jump right into it. Mando and the crew, they are hijacking an Imperial ship with Dr. Pershing on it.
Imperial shuttle.
Yes. And the pilot, the first pilot's like, hey, I don't want any part of this. He's like, oh, I'm cool, man. And then the other one's kind of like a crazy fanatic.
Yeah.
He actually holds Dr. Pershing at gunpoint and is taunting Cara Dune about Alderaan, and they kind of have like a little back and forth, and it's a very tense way to start the episode. And it ultimately...
I like when he says, I was on the Star Destroyer, or I was on the Death Star, and Cara Dune goes, which one?
Yeah.
I was waiting for dun dun, dun dun.
It's such a burn.
Yeah.
And he straight up gets shot in the face, which I was like, dang. There's actually quite a few things in this episode that I was kind of shocked to see in Star Wars. That was one of them. You see a direct blaster bolt connect with a head.
Yeah. Unhelmeted.
Yeah, which is something I don't think have really ever seen, like a direct headshot to an unhelmeted character.
Yeah.
Afterwards, Mando and Boba Fett, they go visit Bo-Katan and Casca Reeves, which randomly...
Axe Woves.
Yeah, Axe Woves is gone for some reason.
Couldn't fit the bill.
Right.
Couldn't take the time off.
Yeah, from his busy shooting schedule.
Which leads me to believe that there's something going on in Mandalore. Maybe he was needed in a different... Something else going on. Same thing with Sabine, who was heavily rumored to be in this season.
Yeah, we didn't get any Sabine at all.
Sabine.
You know, for a moment, I thought that Imperial female officer that in like earlier episodes, the camera like oddly focused on her, and then again in this last episode, oddly focused on her. I was like, is this character going to turn out to be Sabine? And she's been like deep undercover this whole time because you know she's a former Imperial. Casca Reeves and Boba Fett have a little brawl, especially because Bo-Katan is talking some smack to Boba as well, and saying
there is so much cool dialogue this time when she was like, I've heard your voice thousands of times. I'm like, Clone Wars reference.
Yeah, and he's like, this is my father's armor, and she's like, don't you mean your donor? And I was like, damn. Like, Bo-Katan's coming with the burns.
Yeah.
But Casca and Boba get in a quick little fight with each other.
A little brawl. They're kind of evenly matched.
Yeah, which
Boba Fett, legendary bounty hunter, but Casca Reeves is a night owl, a true Mandalorian warrior. So I kind of like the little balance there. Yeah,
got a little cool showdown, and then of course they're both like shooting their flamethrowers at the same time, and then Bo calls him off, and eventually she agrees to help because Mando is like. He's like, I know where Moff Gideon is, and I don't care. You could have the Darksaber. I really don't care. I just want Grogu. And so she's like, all right, cool. Like, I want the Darksaber, and I want to be the one that kills Moff Gideon. Or she says at least defeat him.
Yeah, have him surrender to her.
Yeah. So they have to infiltrate the ship, and how they do that is they are on the Imperial ship, and they kind of have like a fake attack where Boba Fett's chasing after him and like playing it up like, he's trying to shoot at him and pew pew pew. And then they crash the ship onto Moff Gideon's light cruiser. Then instantly, badass action.
Yeah.
Guns blazing.
Yeah, that was really cool. But Mando splits up.
Yeah.
He's going to go get Grogu while the others take care of business, take the bridge.
Which, there's just some great action. I love the team of Fennec, Cara, Casca Reeves and Bo-Katan just kicking all sorts of ass. I love when they're on the bridge and Casca and Bo like fly off to the side, and then the troops surround Kara and Fennec, and the troopers are like, they're like, yeah, we've got you. And then of course they don't know that Bo and Casca are right there, so they just jump right back up, and great action.
Yep, but Mando goes solo to try and get Grogu, and by this time the Dark Troopers have activated.
Yeah, true, because they are never fully on standby because they use so much power.
Right.
Because, of course, they're droids, which they revealed, which, I mean, of course, we already knew that as the audience, but...
And there's a pretty... Because he kind of blasts the doors, but one of them gets through. And there's a pretty badass one-on-one fight where I feel like Din was kind of getting his ass handed to him.
Some straight-up Terminator vibes.
Yeah.
Like T-800.
And there was like this EDM sound track going on.
I loved the dark... like, the dark, robotic soundtrack that the Dark Troopers had in this episode. Super dope. And honestly, at first, because obviously, Din is getting his ass kicked, and I love this shot where he's just pounding Din in the face, but because he's wearing Beskar, it's not...
I feel like that would still hurt, though.
I'm sure it would to some degree, but he's getting pushed into the actual, like, metal of the ship. It was just crazy because they're impervious to blaster fire. The whistling birds didn't do anything.
Yeah, they did a little tiny bit since it's Beskar, but it ultimately took the spear.
Yeah. And he kind of just got lucky and jammed it in the neck so that he could, like, decapitate it.
And then he opens the door, the hatchway, so they all blow out in his face. But I knew, I was like, they're going to come back.
For a second, I was like, is that seriously it?
Yeah.
Like, and I was just picturing Moff Gideon, like, who put them in the same room as an airlock?
Yeah.
Like, why was there an airlock conveniently right there? It was just kind of silly.
Well, I think when they get deployed.
Oh, okay. They would jump out of the airlock.
They would fly out of that hatch. Moff Gideon holding the Darksaber to Grogu. Yeah. I was like, oh no. And he kind of just, let's go our separate ways.
Yeah. Which for a second I was like, wow. I mean,
might have been the smart thing to do.
Yeah, because obviously that's not how it goes. Moff decides to try and get a little cheap shot.
Which... I mean, Mando's wearing Beskar, and he has the Beskar spear.
Right.
So he would have to get pretty lucky. I like the scene where the saber is, like, scraping all up against the wall.
Yeah, and I like how, like, the contact between the Darksaber and the Beskar spear, you can tell the spear's heating up. So, like, maybe at some point the spear would have potentially broken in half. But it's a really awesome fight scene.
Mando obviously wins. He bests Gideon. And they go to the bridge. Gideon's defeated, and he's like, "Oh, here's that stupid little thing you wanted." And then, of course, Moff Gideon explains why Bo-Katan wouldn't just take it.
Yeah.
Which there's been some confusion.
Yeah, which I definitely was part of that. But upon this rewatch, I noticed there's a very specific line of dialogue.
Yeah, because in Clone Wars... If you remember, like, the pre-Vizsla and Maul thing, how Maul gets the Darksaber, it's kind of like the Warrior's Code of you have to defeat whoever is the wielder of the Darksaber to get it. And they even maintain that continuity into Rebels, because that's what... Was it Gar or Tiber Saxon?
I feel like Gar Saxon ends up with it.
And he says, like, the only way you're going to get it is if you defeat me. So they maintain that sort of continuity, but then Sabine kind of just gives the Darksaber to Bo-Katan, like she yields her leadership to Bo.
Yeah.
And she accepts it.
And Bo also has the backing of most of the major Mandalorian clans that were left. But Moff Gideon says she can't accept it. He says something along the lines of, like, she can't accept it this time. Implying, like, because she lost it somehow, which we still don't know, which I assume we're going to see. I definitely think next season of The Mandalorian is going to focus on Mando teaming up with Bo somehow and trying to reclaim Mandalore. And whether or not, Bo kind of gets a little villainous, because she was kind of giving off some villainous vibes. which I
She
hope...
knows she can't just take it again.
Right. But I'm like, is she gonna like, actually try and kill Mando, or are they gonna have like a fight and then maybe just like, Mando throws the fight or something so that she can have it back? Because he has no interest.
Because I was also kind of thinking, like, there's not even that many people in the room. Just give it to her.
Right. And it's like, really, who's gonna say anything besides Moff Gideon? And you could just be like, well, he's in a New Republic prison, so how is anyone going to find out about this?
Yeah, so a little bit of drama, a little bit of confusion on there. But then, the Dark Troopers jetpack back. They boost back into the ship, which I knew was going to happen. I was like, okay, here we go. It's time for the final showdown. But then I remembered, okay, they're like impervious to blaster fire. So how's this going to work out? So they're all kind of in the bridge waiting to make their last stand. And then this music starts, and you see the X-Wing fly by. And right then I was like thinking Luke, but maybe.
Yeah.
And then we get these various shots of a hooded figure. Some of them were from like the hologram, security hologram.
I absolutely loved that music. It was so
mysterious
and like the like vocals on the track. I was like, oh man, because I kept going back and forth. I was like, it's Ezra. No, it's Luke. It's Ezra. No, it's Luke.
Because obviously a green lightsaber can mean plenty of things.
Right.
But this is when I started tearing up.
Yeah.
In my room, because at one point it's obvious that it's Luke. You can see the glove. You said there was one shot where you can see the belt from Return of the Jedi, and then the hilt of the saber. And I started tearing up. I was like, my childhood hero is back on the screen. It's done in a very tasteful way, and you just see this green lightsaber cutting up the Dark Troopers. This was just done so well.
And it's really the first time, because I'm sorry out there if you like The Last Jedi, that's fine, but this is the first time we've seen Jedi Master Luke Skywalker absolutely wrecking shit.
And it was just how you would imagine Luke would be after Return of the Jedi, because he is Jedi Knight, like Han Solo says when he reunites with Chewie. He's like, a Jedi Knight? I've been out of it too long.
Yeah.
So now we know, like, Luke masters his abilities after Return of the Jedi. He is now a Jedi Master trying to restart the Jedi Order. That was always my thought. That's always my assumption of what happens after Return of the Jedi. And now we get to see it manifest on the screen. Jedi Master Luke, our childhood hero, and I was just tearing up.
Yep.
My eyes were swelling. I was like, I'm a kid again.
It was so satisfying to see him, and of course they kind of emulate the Darth Vader hallway scene. They give Luke his own version of it.
Which is so dope.
Yeah, and I love, he's cutting them in half. He's absolutely making a joke out of...
He's using the Force. He's using, like, Force push, Force crush.
You just see how powerful a jet, like Mando, Bo-Katan, all these characters are extremely skilled fighters, but they are absolutely nothing compared to Luke. Literally just destroying him. It was so satisfying to see. I loved that we got to... It's so silly, but it's so simple. But I loved hearing the ignition noise. I loved hearing the unignition noise. I don't think that's a word. But
resheath.
Yes. It was just so satisfying to see. And then, of course, when you get the reveal, when they open the door and it's all misty. And
you still see the saber.
And you see the green. And it was so unbelievably satisfying to see.
But then they kind of did something that I didn't want. This is just a personal preference. It's an opinion that you and I both share.
Both of us.
Because there are supporters for digital de-aging or deep faking. I know there's a difference between digital de-aging and deep fake.
It was the deep fake technology, because you can kind of tell, because it almost has like a 2D look to it. It doesn't look 3D, whereas like, even though Tarkin and Princess Leia don't look that great in Rogue One, they still had like a 3D aspect to them because they were actually made like a 3D model.
Okay. Regardless, we are never fans of digital de-aging, CGI, deep faking. We are 100% like passionate supporters of recasting a human being because you can connect with a human being. You're always going to instantly, at least me, I think maybe I just see it more because I am acknowledging that, okay, Mark Hamill is like, he's older now. That's not him.
Right.
And my mind instantly goes to that. But if it was someone like Sebastian Stan, who really looks like a young Luke Skywalker, I would have had so much more respect.
Right.
The perfect example being Dr. Sleep, when they recasted Wendy Darling and even Jack Torrance.
Wendy, Danny, Jack, all these legendary characters.
It's a human, and you connect with that human, and you acknowledge that it's human. I would much rather have a recast of a person who would just look like a younger Luke.
Because that technology, it's just not there yet. Mm-hmm. It's not there yet. And you can tell he kind of has like a lifeless look. His lips don't move very well.
And it doesn't match kind of with what he's saying.
And I don't even think the voice really sounded Mark Hamill-y.
Yeah, I think it did.
Like it was close, but it wasn't like, you could tell.
Yeah.
You can tell that it was a voice actor or something like that.
It's just to us, I guess, because some people are fans of that kind of stuff, but to people like us, it's just so blatantly obvious, and I do not like it, but it didn't ruin the moment.
No, it definitely didn't.
And anytime I can get practical over CGI, I'm going to take it. But like I said, didn't take us out. He has some great dialogue.
Yeah.
They throw massive shade at the sequel trilogy. I love these little just tidbits of shade, because Ahsoka says it, something like, you can't just pick up the Force and use it. You need training, or like whatever she says.
Right.
And Luke says talent without training means nothing. I'm just like, oh, Jedi Master Luke. And it's like, this is the Luke that I know and love. Like the brave, optimistic, wise.
Not see you around, kid.
Not sipping on blue milk after freshly squeezing it out of an alien's nipple.
Or throwing his father's lightsaber behind his shoulder like it means nothing to him.
Oh! But he ends up taking Grogu, and there's more tears and sadness.
Dude, I was straight up
when
hardcore crying.
Mando and Grogu are saying goodbye, and Grogu puts his hand on the helmet.
When that tiny hand and Din pops his helmet off, no problem, which I think is pretty much going to be a confirmation that by the time season 3 comes around, he's not going to really have an issue taking his helmet off.
Yeah,
which I'm fine with. Yeah, and I think maybe that will cause some problems. Like maybe if he reunites with
the Children of the Watch.
The Children of the Watch, and he's going to just be like... and they're going to be like...
And Paz Vizsla's he's going to go, see, I told you he was a coward.
Yeah. While we hide again in the sewer like rats.
Good old Jon Favreau.
Yeah. But when that little hand touched his face...
Yeah.
I was just like, I can't hold it back anymore.
And Mando does say, I'll see you again, I promise. So maybe we will see Grogu again.
And again, another scene very similar to Luke Skywalker taking Darth Vader's helmet off, showing him his face. Let me see you with my own eyes, or whatever he says.
Right.
Kind of like a similar, it's like poetry, it rhymes.
It does rhyme. Luke says, like, I would give my life for the child, but until he masters his abilities, he will be unsafe, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
I really like the minimal dialogue from Luke, and there was shots of just his lower, without the head, such as Grogu on the floor, and he kind of gives him a little smirk, and he says, may the Force be with you.
And then we get to see R2-D2 show up as well, which was very appropriate, and it was very nice to see R2 in a non-shoehorned way.
Because it makes sense that he would be with Luke.
Right, because he would be on the X-Wing.
Then we got Fat Bib.
Yeah, so then there was an after-credit scene, which if you guys, I'm sure you've seen by now, the Book of Boba Fett. Some people thought this was going to be Season 3 of Mando. I didn't think that for a second.
Yeah, I didn't think that either.
It's a separate show. It's going to be about Boba Fett and Fennec Shand, presumably ruling the underworld, because the after credit scene, you see the twin sons. I knew there was a post credit scene. I was totally expecting it to be the Thrawn tease, but as soon as I saw the twin sons, I was like, oh, this is very interesting. And then of course it
Jabba's palace.
pans over to Jabba's palace, and Bib Fortuna, our boy.
Our boy Bib gets shot as he's a fat slug.
He's alive. He survived getting blown up on the sail barge somehow.
I mean, so did the Max Rebo band.
True.
They jumped off last minute.
Yeah. That's going to be the new special edition of Return of the Jedi. Is you're going to see Bib and the Max Rebo band jumping off.
I wouldn't mind that.
Just like very crude, like PNG images.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind that at all.
I mean, Boba Fett survives the Sarlacc pit, so who honestly cares at this point? Mm-hmm. But he's fat, he's huge, he's taken over Jabba's position, which I just loved that idea. I was like, of course Bib would go and try and pull some crap like that. Like, oh, finally Jabba's dead, so now I can rule.
Right.
And I was a little disappointed to see him just instantly die.
Right.
Because I was hoping like maybe there'd be like something going on, because
he's like, Boba, so happy to see you alive.
And Boba's just like, yeah, sure you are. Bang.
Yep.
Which Boba has his signature blaster back?
Oh, well, there's probably more than one in production.
But what a badass shot. Fennec sitting on the armrest, drinking spatchka, and Boba's just sitting down like a total badass on the chair.
Yep.
Loved that. Mm-hmm. Great ending. Of course, the stuff with Luke was great. The post-credit scene was great. All around, this was a fantastic episode. I think this is another episode that I would give a 10 out of 10 to. Now, ultimately, I still think The Jedi was my favorite episode of the season. But this one is right behind it.
Yeah,
this one is right behind it.
I can't say for sure. I cannot say for sure, but I would agree that I would give it a 10 as well.
Yeah.
This was a banger. A
banger from start to finish. So much satisfying lore, fan service that actually makes sense, and it's not just shoehorned garbage. Absolutely love what Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are doing with Star Wars. This is the sequel that we deserved. This is the continuation of Star Wars fans have wanted, and it's satisfying. It's just awesome. It makes sense. It introduces fan favorite characters without it feeling shoehorned and out of place. And I just love The Mandalorian.
I as well.
So, of course, what did you guys think of this episode? I'm sure you had very similar opinions to us. I think this episode is pretty much universally loved. So, I haven't really seen anyone criticize it other than like Luke's CGI face, which we agree with. I definitely would have preferred a recasting of Luke Skywalker, even though we love Mark Hamill to death. But there's just no way that he can play the character anymore, at least in this time, where it's only, 5-6 years after Return of the Jedi. Of course, if you enjoyed our review, don't forget to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new, ring that bell so you always know when we are uploading our videos. Of course, I'm Nate. I've been joined with Justin.
See you guys later.
Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time on Out of the Basement.